2025 will forever be known as the year MAGA imploded, and the result will be that the Democrats go on an FDR-style electoral run.
What?
MAGA is a coalition of typical old-school conservatives, the RFK Make America Healthy Again weirdos, the podcast, comedy/tech bros, and the Nick Fuentes Groypers. So I'm going to break down each and every subcategory of MAGA and tell you where they ended the year off and where they're headed in 2026. Let's start off with the biggest base of the MAGA movement, the old school conservatives. These are your Lindsey Grahams of the world, your Marco Rubios, your Mike Pences. These guys have never seen a war they didn't like. You'll often find these guys on Fox News leading the charge to bomb every country possible. If we ever bomb a country, go on Fox News and expect to see Lindsey Graham ready to send our soldiers to die. It is almost like a meme with Lindsey Graham because you think he'd notice how pro-war he sounds, but he never does. This group made up the entirety of their 2016 Republican primaries. They were the original Never Trumpers. These guys don't like chaos unless it involves bullets. They also like to give their rich donors some tax breaks, maybe start a few wars for Raytheon, but they also typically want things to run smoothly so no one notices. They literally successfully lobbied their way into a hot war with Venezuela. They're your typical pro-Israel, pro-billionaire wing of the MAGA movement. These guys ended 2025 on the top, to be honest. They control the entire government. They literally have Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, while having Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense. They are the majority in the House and in the Senate, and most mainstream right-wing media puppets fall into this category as well. And finally, they got the war in South America they always wanted. It's quite sad but true. Though, in 2026, they're in for a rude awakening, because underneath the surfaces of MAGA, there are people tired of endless wars and subservience to Israel. Next, you have the late arrival to the movement, which is the podcast bros.
I used to open up with cream cheese and jelly on a poppy seed roll with a 16-ounce Coke for breakfast for years. And I was in shape. That's the thing. You know, you can't live. Remember that? Nobody eats cream cheese and jelly for breakfast on a roll no more.
These guys are your typical independents who are lefties on some issues and to the right on others. So your Joe Rogans, your Tim Dillons, your Andrew Schultzes, they mainly vote on vibes. And the thing about voted on vibes is that you have no loyalty to whoever you voted for. And the vibes shift extremely quickly. They were the latest to arrive to the 2024 MAGA coalition, and they were the first to put their finger in the air and abort mission.
People that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. Yeah. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
Their mass exodus really started with the crackdowns on speech over Israel. That's when you started seeing them question like the Trump administration, and then the exodus really ramped up when the mass deportation started. When the Trump admin started picking up Pablo from Home Depot, they didn't want to be associated with the administration anymore. And weirdly, this section of the coalition also involves the Silicon Valley dudes who want everything to be crypto and AI. I'm not against crypto or AI, but they literally want everything to run through those two things, which sometimes clashes with sections of the podcast bros. While Joe Rogan might love Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, you'll have Tim Dillon questioning Palantir and saying how creepy it is.
To have this, you build military AI, military drone, autonomous drone technology to export to war zones all over the world. You build domestic surveillance technology to surveil our friends and neighbors. And then your other pet passion is the Antichrist. It's odd. Wouldn't you include tennis? Wouldn't you go, and I'm big into tennis. Something else. It's odd, and I like ice fishing. I build autonomous drone technology. I build domestic surveillance technology.
And I love lake trout.
And I love lake trout, and I love big mouth bass fishing. Yeah. But instead, he goes, and I've also developed quite a keen interest in Satan.
So these guys are ending the year off in such a weird spot because they are an underrated part of the MAGA movement. They all but carried Trump when it comes to young men, but they feel like they put their names on the line and they were let down by Trump. In 2026, they're likely to stay home during the midterms and not really back anyone. Then you have the smallest, but also extremely important category of the MAGA movement, which is the Make America Healthy Again side of the movement, with the head obviously being RFK Jr. The group being led by a guy with a brainworm tells you all you need to know about this movement.
Was an Alaskan bullworm!
This movement includes people like Nicole Shanahan. All these fucks talk about is food dye and vaccine. These guys are who to blame for the record high measles death since the vaccine was created, because they go on TV constantly telling people that the vaccines don't work or that it gives your kid autism. They're ending the year off exactly where they started, with no one taking them seriously. Next year will be much more the same for them. And next you have the black sheep of the MAGA movement, the Groypers. This category is basically made up of all the Republican staffers under 30 that work in Washington, D.C. These people believe in white nationalist ideas. They dislike Israel because of anti-Semitism, while I dislike Israel for killing children every day. This category of people in MAGA think they have a lot more numbers than they actually do. If you go up to some random white kid in Arkansas and ask them are they a Groyper, they're going to ask you what the fuck a Groyper is. These are hyper online weirdos full of debate me bro kids. They had an up and down 2025 to be honest. They started off excited about Trump, then got mad that he wasn't doing enough deportations for their liking, and then realized he was a cuck to Israel. So in 2026, I think they will also stay home during the midterms because the Republican Party wasn't anti-Semitic enough for them. And finally, you have the coalition that I don't even think existed at the start of the year, but definitely exists now. These guys are the America First guys. They are kind of a combination of the podcast bros with a tad bit of Groyperism in there a little bit. These are the Tucker Carlsons, the Steve Bannons, and the Dave Smiths. This is where I think the bulk of the podcast bro audience is going to go moving forward, now that the podcast bros are turned off politics. These guys often dislike billionaires and are more populist. They don't believe in never-ending wars on behalf of other countries. They hate immigration just as much as Groypers though. They just aren't willing to go to saying the N-word yet. As I said, I think these guys had the biggest growth in 2025. They went from not even existing to being a big part of the political atmosphere. They will be a big player in 2026 as most of the country subconsciously becomes America First in terms of foreign engagements. So these are the categories of people that made up the 2024 MAGA coalition. When they were rowing in the same direction is how you get Trump winning the popular vote. But when the infighting started, it's the most entertaining shit in politics. And I didn't even mention the conspiracy people like Candace Owens and Alex Jones. Candace basically snatched Alex's chain when it comes to noticing and questioning everything. Alex Jones was basically proven right about the pedophile ring controlling the government and involving foreign intelligence. But the issue Alex faces is that for 30 years, he swore up and down that it was only Democrats. But then he found out that Republicans were all over that shit. And it makes him look like a shill when he tries to defend them. While Candace doesn't care who was in it, and at least she stays somewhat consistent on that. But that's how you end up with the FDR-style electoral run. Not because the Democrats are perfect, but because the other side couldn't stop fighting itself long enough to win.